Good morning, my name is Sam Park.
I'm Alex Rosa.
And today we're here at the Gothenburg Learning Center. And the focus of today's video is going to give an update that we've alluded to earlier this season about our soybean planting date by population density study. And so how this video is going to go is we're kind of going to cut it up into 6 different pieces for our 6 different planting dates and just give an update around what the planting conditions were like, how the plants are looking now, and kind of the weather revolving around those planting dates. All right, so we are here in our planting date 1, which occurred on April 5th of this year. There were pretty warm temperatures. They were, for the time period, it was about 65 degrees when we planted, and we had warm temperatures following that. We had good soil moisture, and then about a week later, the temperatures did drop off. And so with the beans that we have here, we're planting at 6 different densities, so ranging from 40,000 plants per acre all the way up to 220,000 plants per acre. And so also our maturity groups are about a 2.5 bean all the way up to a 2.9. And so Alex, what are we looking at here?
So Sam, here we have 2 soybean plants from different populations, still at the planting date 1. So here in my right hand is the 40,000 plants per acre. And we have with this plant, well, it's in the reproductive stage, R1, and we have about 10 nodes counted. And here in my left hand, we have a plant from the 160 plants per acre. And we can definitely see a dramatic difference between those 2 plants. This one has about 9 nodes. So the internodes are more spaced in comparison to 40,000, where they are more compressed and you have more branches.
Gotcha. So you have some pretty big architecture differences. So from here, we had some cold temperatures that followed, but as you can see, these beans are doing really well, actually, despite being planted really early in April. All right, and now here we are at our planting date 2. And so these 4 rows, starting with here, is our second planting day, which occurred on April 19th of this year. And so there was a heavy rain 2 days prior to the planting, so we had plenty of soil moisture. And then when we were planting, it was snowing. So Alex was a trooper. He was out riding on the back of the planter while I was warm and toasty in the cab. But it was snowing. It was very cold temperatures, about just about 40 degrees. And then it was followed by a rain the next day. So like I said, plenty of soil moisture, maybe even a little too wet. But then the temperatures did warm up the following week. And so as you can see, these plants ended up coming out of it pretty well. Again, despite being planted maybe a little bit earlier than you would anticipate.
Sure. And here in this planting day 2, right, Sam, we have also the plants in about R1 growth stage. We see some insect feeding damage, nothing that to be concerned at this point, but definitely needs to be monitored. And again, this is 120,000 plants per acre, and we are again seeing about 9 nodes in the plant, which distinguish pretty well when we compare to a 40,000 population.
All right, so now we've moved on to our planting date 3, which occurred on May 1st of this year. And so we're starting to get a little bit closer to maybe your typical time frame for planting soybeans, at least in the central Nebraska region here. And so what we did have was about a ½ inch of rain a few days, about 4 to 5 days prior to planting. So probably the best soil conditions that we had compared to the previous 2 planting dates. And then we had about a ½ inch of rain the following day. So plenty of moisture for those seeds to imbibe and come up. It was hot when we planted it. It was above 80 degrees. But then the following week, we did see a decrease in temperature. But like kind of the previous 2 planting dates, these things are moving right along and they look pretty great so far.
So for planting day 3, here we have a plant again in the 120,000 plants per acre density. And here we are looking at a plant with 7 to 8 trifoliolates and starting to flower actually. So I can see 1 flower here. So we are in that transition of vegetative to reproductive stage.
All right, so here we are at planting day 4. And you see a few plants, but you're probably wondering what the heck happened. So this occurred on May 28th. And so it was raining for the multiple days previous. I want to say it was like 5 days. It was consistently raining, extremely wet conditions. we definitely pushed it. We tried to get in here and get something planted, like I said, on May 28th. And then the following day, we got hammered again with about 60 hundredths of rain the following day after planting. It was cooler temperatures, and then it spiked up the next week and got incredibly hot. And so as you can see, really, we planted it. The rain packed it right down. Like we said, it was also too wet. And then once when it got hot, we ran into some crusting issues, right? And so very poor emergence here. Definitely don't want to plant when it's too wet. I think this is a pretty indicative of that. And Alex, you've got some pretty interesting things, right? You found some plants?
For the few plants that we found here in this area, Sam, they are about V3 to V4 growth stage, but as you all can see, we definitely don't have that many plants. Most of them, what happened is just like what I'm showing here in the video. These seedlings could not come up from the soil crust. I mean, they could not emerge well, and that's what we are seeing here in this field, or not seeing actually.
All right, so here we are at planting day 5, which occurred on June 7th of this year. So that was a few weeks after those heavy rains that really messed with our planting date 4. So we had good soil moisture, and the temperature was hot when we planted, and then it stayed hot since then. And so probably some of the best soil conditions that we had planted in yet. Maybe planting was a little bit later than what you may typically see. But as you can see, we got good emergence. Things are moving right along well.
Those plants here are about V2 growth stage, and we can't see the nodulation yet. However, as Sam said, very healthy plants in this planting day.
All right, so here we have arrived at our last and final planting date 6. And this we did this past Monday, June 21st of this year. And as you can see, nothing has come up yet. It has been very dry these past few weeks, and so soil moisture has probably been the limiting factor for these things popping up. We've had very hot temperatures, so not concerned on that end. Just need to get some moisture. Either maybe we'll get some rain this afternoon, which would be great, or maybe start to pass a linear over it to irrigate. But these things, like I said, this is our last and latest planting date, the last of the study, so definitely later than you would probably anticipate, but definitely still interested to see how these plants will come up and see how they'll still end up yielding at the end of the year.
This was our soybean date by pop study. If you have any questions, shoot us a message. And thank you very much for watching this video.
Thanks for watching this video from the Gothenburg Water Utilization Learning Center. For more information, please call 308-537-4500.